Alex Marlow is the editor of Breitbart. CPAC Chairman Matt Schlapp also with us tonight. Good to see you guys. Alex, I want to start, of course, the White House discussing the potential of boots on the ground. We all know how unpopular that idea is going to be, even with Trump's best supporters. Trump also talking about Cuba falling next as well. So this is a very big worldview vision that he's showing us.
Yeah, and we're right to caution them that this is not going to be popular. But, you know, none of this is popular. So Trump is banking on that he's going to have a quick, decisive victory. And then in a few months, everyone's going to come around. And I know this. I've spoken to him about the strategy in person. And he feels this way, that people eventually catch up and start seeing things a little differently if you get the W. And so I think that's what Trump is trying to do here. And I'll tell you, he never takes anything off the table. So there's no way he's going to go out and say, we will never put boots on the ground, even if it's probably his last resort. And if there are, it's probably special forces. It's probably guys who are just really amazing. And that's all I would expect.
Yeah. But Matt, you know, it's interesting to see he clearly has this very grandiose vision of America's place in the world and where he can put us to. I mean, we've been falling back under really weak leadership, I think, for a very long time in this country. He's trying to set this country up for some serious prosperity, a world without Iran. Imagine the world in the Middle East without Iran, without communist regimes in Latin America like Venezuela and like Cuba. He has a big vision. It's actually impressive to think of the scale of it, but it feels risky at the same time.
Yeah, so I agree with Alex. I think everybody wants some caution here because we've seen the mistakes we've made since the 1970s overseas. And for me, viscerally, having been in the White House during all this with Iraq and Afghanistan, working for President Bush. That being said, when you become the president, it's the president you got to be, not the president you want to be. President Trump might have thought that he would be able to focus on certain issues, but then reality hits that Oval Office, that resolute desk in the Oval Office, and he was presented with what was happening between the nexus between Venezuela and the cartels that are controlling an increasing part of the Western Hemisphere, the impact on people's lives, the impact on illegal immigration into America, and he took action. Maybe it wasn't the action he thought he was going to have to take, but he needed to take. Same in Iran. Presidents have looked at these plans for successive presidencies, and the fact is their missile technology and their nuclear program and their funding of terrorism all over the world, these plans were put on the president's desk, and they said, look, we can take them out. And so you got to be the president you need to be to react to reality.
It's so true. And, it is something, Alex, when you look at what he's up against, because he's facing, obviously, in the near term, oil is going to go up. It's already gone up. There's going to be economic instability. The Dow is going to go down. He hates those things happening. He always talks about the Dow, and he always talks about gas prices. So that doesn't help. But, the future, if this can go to plan, and even if it takes a little while, is very bright. But he's also got to fight through a Democrat Party that is trying to decimate this, hoping that this loses, and hoping that this is a failure for him and for the country, just for their politics, which is so sinister.
It's so sinister. This has been one of Chuck Schumer's signature issues his entire career, is that the Iranian regime needs to be deposed, and even he won't vote for it. So other than Fetterman, there isn't an honest person in that whole party at this point, and it's just stunning to watch this. Remember, they're also hopping up a guy with a Nazi tattoo right now, and they're defending him after calling all of us Nazis for so long. Right. It's crazy stuff that's happening over there, but they're irrelevant for the time being. But Trump has made these calculations. He's watching the market. He's watching oil prices. He knows summer gas prices are coming anyway, and he can't stop them. So that's why I think he's going to be decisive, and he's going to get out of there pretty quick.
Matt, I want to talk about, I want to move domestically for a second and talk about this negotiation happening in Texas. You have John Thune that wants to keep John Cornyn in his Senate seat. You have a much better Republican, the state's Attorney General Ken Paxton, trying to take it from him. They got this runoff at the end of May. It appears that Trump is trying to negotiate some kind of a deal potentially that he would perhaps back Cornyn if Thune would amend the filibuster and get the SAVE Act passed, which would give Trump his secure elections with voter ID requirements. Paxton saying he's not going to drop out until he basically sees the SAVE Act passed. This is like an interesting little chess game they're trying to play here. What are your thoughts on this, Matt?
I'm incredibly worried about this. John Cornyn has been a long-term friend. He's a very decent man, over time, he's fossilized like the entire Republican Senate. They just don't know how, they have no muscle memory on how to act and to do tough things. They do easy things. They go and do TV interviews and they ask a few harsh questions at hearings, but they don't do the hard work of getting the American people behind something like the SAVE Act. And Ken Paxton has been with the president and his agenda on January 6th, on January 7th, every day before, every day after. What I worry about for all these political geniuses telling the president that John Cornyn is the only guy who can win is to remember that Ken Paxton has won statewide over and over and over again, despite having everything thrown at him but the kitchen sink. Right. He knows how to win. John Cornyn's problem is this isn't a general election. This is a midterm. It's all about your base. And there's a lot of Trump supporters and conservatives who are really mad at John Cornyn. They might not pull that lever for him. And it really concerns me that if there's some kind of a bargain that happens, some of those folks could stay home despite President Trump endorsing it.
Yeah, it's interesting to see this fight, and it's like, would you give up Ken Paxton to get the SAVE Act passed? I think he probably would, but it's, Thune wants Cornyn and Trump wants the SAVE Act. Let's see who wins in this one. Real quickly before we go, Alex, this shakeup in the administration, I want to get to. Markwayne Mullin, our friend, is Trump's new choice to run Homeland Security. Kristi Noem is out. ISIS tactics have made a lot of headlines. It made a bit of a mess that Tom Homan had to clean up in Minnesota. Now you notice ISIS isn't really in the news anymore. Then this week, Noem on Capitol Hill asked to defend her decision to spend $200 million of her budget on campaign ads that featured herself. Take a look at just one of them.
Why do I love these wide open spaces? They remind me of why our forefathers came here. Not just for its beauty, but for the freedom only America provides. I'm Kristi Noem. From the cowboys who tamed the West to the titans who built our cities.
Yeah, so you see a pretty expensive vanity project or perhaps a campaign ad with DHS dollars. She was asked about this yesterday in that Senate hearing. She claimed that Trump signed off on it. Take a listen.
You're testifying that President Trump approved this ahead of time. Is that my understanding?
We had conversations about making sure that we were telling people.
No, ma'am. I'm asking you, sorry to interrupt, but the president approved ahead of time you spending $220 million running TV ads across the country in which you are featured prominently.
Yes, sir. We went through the legal processes, did it correctly.
Did the president know you were going to do this?
Yes.
He did?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, well, Trump telling reporters today he had no idea that this money was being spent on ads like this. It's a lot of money on marketing. Alex, and soon after he announced her replacement, your thoughts on this move? Was that the final straw?
Yeah, this is one of these things where I've always loved Kristi Noem's energy, but I've made a complete 180 on these ads in the last few hours, really delving into this thing. This is a legitimate scandal. $220 million taxpayer-funded money to a company that was stood up 11 days prior to the husband of her former the spokesperson, whom I loved as the spokesperson, Tricia McLaughlin. I was completely shocked when I got into the details of what's being alleged here. And to see Kennedy, it seemed like a disappointed father catching his daughter cheating on a test. It was so painful to watch that. This is the biggest scandal I've seen from the Trump administration, and the president moved decisively and accurately to remove her. It was a good call, and I look forward to what Markwayne Mullin's going to do. Yeah, he ended that very, very quickly. I thought that was a good move, too, because it's ugly. This one stinks. Alex Marlow, Matt Schlapp, good to see you guys. Thanks. You know, everybody's reporting the same stories, the same spin. You turn the channel, it's always the same. But not us. We're different. We report the real news. No spin, just the facts. Turn to us, and you won't turn back.
Tune in to Rob Schmitt tonight on Newsmax.